Hello everybody, I want to welcome you to this video. This is actually a very exciting video for me to make for a couple of reasons. One, I get to cover a topic that I really do enjoy quite a bit. And another one is to say thank you all. I have just hit my 100th subscriber. And I know that it's kind of a small number in relative to YouTube terms, but for me, starting this channel and not really kind of having an original agenda of where I wanted to bring it, where I wanted to go with this channel, and I still am kind of figuring things out. I really appreciate you all for subscribing, and if you're seeing this and you haven't subscribed, that's okay. Go ahead and subscribe if you like the content. I have a bunch of other videos that I have on the channel that you may enjoy, so check them out. But thank you again, 100 subscribers. This is crazy. I never thought I'd get this far, actually. So thank you so much, everybody who has subscribed and continues to do so. Now that I've got that out of the way, I really want to take this time to kind of breeze over a subject that I am very passionate about, which I don't really talk about, and I haven't really talked about in a long time within my own circles, but excuse me, it's about a game that I've played since the first iteration of the game, and it's something that I've always really been a big fan of for a lot of different reasons. But I'm probably going to go in more depth into some of the games individually and as a series, but I just wanted to take this 100th subscriber video and just point out a series that I really enjoy. And if you enjoy it too, please go ahead and put your comments below about which game you like in the series the most, which one you didn't like as much, if you disagree with some of my opinions about this, because this is going to be largely like an introspective piece, a piece about how I enjoy it, and it may go a little bit beyond some popular opinions, but that's okay. That's what the great thing about gaming is about, is we all can have different opinions and we all can have different reasons why we like something or don't like something. So anyways, what is that? It is Grand Theft Auto, a subject that has been thoroughly beaten to death on YouTube and on the internet, because the series itself has been around since the late 90s. And to kind of bring that up, actually I originally was introduced to Grand Theft Auto probably early 1998. I've got the big box PC release right here. This is my original copy from that time. I believe I got it around February of '98, so I'm not sure. I don't think it was new at that time. It may have been a little bit before, maybe '97. But man, this game really changed perspective for me for gaming. Is just to kind of show you the back there a little bit. Again, the big box PC game, the actual, on the front it says, "Warning, you must be 17 or older, original and uncensored." I was like, all right, this is going to be interesting. And I know one of my friends at the time who lived down the street also had this game. So we were always talking about, the gameplay, the amount of the killing spree that we would get in the game and stuff like that. And I remember one time we actually did a over the internet, a dial-in connection game, and it was, even though we were down the street, it was not a good experience, but it was really cool because we were able to do it at that time. I mean, we both were on dial-up, and it was just one of the coolest things. Just the fact that this game, for me, really, I started getting into game modding a little bit, because there was a giant community around downloading customized cars and content, and it's just so much around this game that was open world at that time. It just really, you were able to get into the three main cities, Vice City, Liberty City, and San Andreas, all in this one game. And later on, I know they'd obviously dive into the other games individually, but you're able to get into all three different areas. You had some slight variations on cars, and if you had not played it at this point, it is a top-down, like a helicopter view almost perspective. Like, let's say you were to see a car chase scene on the news where somebody's you know, the police are chasing a car. That's kind of the perspective that you would have. It's not like at an angle, but it's more of like a satellite view, I should say. But it was very interesting because it combined like almost like a 3D building architecture with 2D sprites for your character in the cars and whatnot. So that being said, it came out on PC, it came out on PlayStation as well. It also, there's a couple other different ports, I believe, for handheld systems I never really played, but this was my first taste of Grand Theft Auto, and for me, I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. One other thing about it, the soundtrack, the actual radio stations that you got to listen to in the game were all like original content that they made. They had the different stations you could flip through and whatnot. But it was so interesting at a time where licensed music was really kind of starting to be a new concept. You know, you had like Tony Hawk, Pro Skater, and you know, Crazy Taxi, and all those games that were coming out at that time, the late 90s. Licensed music was still kind of a newer concept. And for a first release from this studio under DMA Designs, they probably didn't have the budget to license all that at the time. So that original content, though, the music still, I can still hear the main theme in my head. Oh man, an absolute blast from the past, and a purely enjoyable game. Oh, I do have the PlayStation version right here because, I mean, it works pretty well on PlayStation, no complaints. My PC was kind of my first falling out of the game, my first experience, but this one's the greatest hits version, where I guess PS2 was out and GTA 3 was kind of a new thing. So those are the copies I have for original Grand Theft Auto. Speaking of add-ons and whatnot, they actually there was a team that had, once they kind of formed Rockstar and whatnot, they actually made Grand Theft Auto Mission Pack, and this one is actually Mission Pack number 1, London 1969. So this was basically using the same mechanics of GTA 1, and everything was refreshed. The buildings, the map, everything is refreshed for 1969 London. And what was interesting about this one, especially on the PlayStation, I don't remember if the PC version had to have it. I think you had to have the original game, the original Grand Theft Auto, to play it, and it does tell you on the back that you have to have it. But yeah, they have new missions, new vehicles. Wasn't as popular, but it was definitely a solid release. It was fun. No complaints for me. Now, going on to about 1999, 2000 is when I got into GTA 2. Now, I never got it for PC, even though PC was kind of the platform that I got into the original one. I was a big Dreamcast kid when that was out, and of course, if I'm going to be playing Dreamcast games, it was going to include GTA 2. I love it, the shiny cover there. This game was definitely weird to me, because it felt like it went more into a slightly dystopian future. It was always dark and gritty. Dark and gritty is cool, but I liked kind of the light atmosphere of the original one a little bit more. They had upgraded special effects. The lighting effects were upgraded as well. One thing I really did like about this game, though, is you had the introduction of the gang mechanics, so that you had different gangs that you can do missions for, or different areas and territories where these gangs would hang out. So if you were to drive down the road and you were friendly with one gang and you entered their territory, they wouldn't bother you. But if you go into a territory where you've got your respect level up for one gang and this other gang doesn't like that gang, or it's a rival gang, then they'll start shooting at you. So I thought it was really cool that they added that in, and that was kind of the main hook for me, was that whole gang warfare thing. So GTA 2 was really great in that respect. It was a little sluggish on the Dreamcast. I mean, compared to playing on the PC. Personally, I know that it's kind of hard to compare, because you had, when things blow up and you have slowdown, that's fine, that happens. But that was kind of me going from GTA 1 on the PC to GTA 2 on the Dreamcast. it was a slightly different experience. I wasn't as thrilled, but it was still something I played quite a bit, and I loved it. Now, when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, this one's kind of an interesting one where at the time I had my own computer. You know, I wasn't using like a family computer or anything. I had my own computer, and Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, and I bought it for PC. It was like, finally, it's coming to, it's a 3D game now. You get to actually, you know, jump in and drive all this stuff around and do these missions, and it's full 3D, and it's, oh man, it was really, really well marketed. But I bought it, picked it up, installed it on my computer, and I think it went at like 1 frame every 5 seconds. It was a slideshow. That was at the time that I was still kind of new to the idea of graphics cards. I mean, we had a computer with a Matrox Mystique graphics card, and you know, Mech Warrior played on it just fine and whatnot. But minimum system requirements and recommended system requirements at that time, I was still kind of learning my way around what I needed. I believe the card that I ended up buying for it was an ATI. I believe it was an ATI All-in-Wonder 7000 series. I don't remember exactly now, but I remember it wasn't the newest card at the time, but it played Grand Theft Auto really well, I believe. It wasn't the smoothest experience, but for the time I was really happy with it. Also, the graphics card had a capture card built into it, so I was able to capture gameplay from some of my game consoles. So it was really cool. Really started introducing me at that era to a whole new whole new way to experience video games. But anyways, yeah, I ended up getting Grand Theft Auto 3 for the PlayStation later on, and then the Xbox. It's kind of, this is more of the collector's pack. So I originally, again, I had it on PC, and then later on I played it on PS2 just because, you know, I'm a big fan of Grand Theft Auto. So I got it on PS2, then I got it on Xbox. These are part of I believe a 2-game set. Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City, but I've got them individually here. So anyways, it was a great experience. GTA 3 was kind of the way that my friend that I had played original Grand Theft Auto on PC, we kind of envisioned, or like, man, imagine if this game was in 3D. It wasn't quite there yet to what we really had wanted, but oh man, it was a game changer. Quite literally, GTA 3 for me was an eye-opening experience. All the cool things you could do, all the different cars you could steal, and just the storytelling really evolved with GTA 3, and I think became one of the hooks for me, because each game for me was like, you know, different things kept me playing the game, but GTA 3, the missions, the story really got me hooked and involved. And that kind of brings me to Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which came out pretty quickly after in relation to the other games. But I actually originally got it for the PlayStation 2. This is my original copy. But this is when they moved to the licensed soundtrack, and just, you know, they took inspiration from a lot of the 80s gangster movies. Like you have and TV shows like Miami Vice, Scarface. Man, I'm not going to mention them all here because I'm probably gonna mess it up. But there was a lot of different popular culture influence, and actually got some of the voice actors from popular mob movies and whatnot in the game, and just the whole package deal. Even though it wasn't the biggest map ever, and I don't even know if it expanded. I think it got a little bit bigger from GTA 3, but it added motorcycles to it, all the different extra side missions. Like you could be a taxi cab driver as well, Zebra cab, I believe. You can go into boats, and I mean, they really expanded the gameplay. Swords, just it was so great. I ended up eventually buying it again on Xbox just because I wanted to see the differences. And there are some slight graphical differences and whatnot, but granted, this is probably, if I had to point out maybe one game that I would say was, for me, the point that I was most in love with the Grand Theft Auto series was probably Vice City. Not to discount any of the other games, but Vice City is the game that I look most fondly on with my experiences. Again, you know, getting into the gameplay, I think it was the first time I actually connected the PS2 up to my my graphics card and was doing game capture for it. And I think I made my own like compilation videos and stuff at the time too. So that was really cool. It was a really great time to get into, you know, video editing, and oh man, it was a good time. And I believe I was in high school at the time too, so it was definitely a good time to play that game. But then after that came out Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and again, I know I'm missing a lot. There's like the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance stuff, and but for me, I'm kind of again pushing on my own experiences with Grand Theft Auto. San Andreas came out. Now this is probably the game that, when I had mentioned my good friend when I was growing up, and I were talking about like all the, like, we were just kind of daydreaming sometimes on like the fun stuff that you could probably do in later GTAs. This is probably the closest to it, you know, with you know with the whole, you know, working out system, and the, you know, they added bicycles to it, and the vast countryside of and landscape of what you can actually do in the game. This is probably the one that matches what we had had on our bucket list of what can you do in GTA. Now I'm gonna kind of take a little side step there and say that I wasn't the biggest fan of this one. The biggest reason is I kind of, and I'm gonna have to replay this one because it's been probably since it came out that I actually took a lot of time in it. But I felt like from getting from point A to point B, there was just so much land. It was almost too big, but there was a lot of nothing in between. Like I just felt like I was like running to a destination or just driving. I felt like there was just not as much to do in the in-between. I felt like all the other Grand Theft Autos, most of them, were more dense. They had stuff to experience. They had like things happening. And this one, you know, it was a step in the right direction. I really enjoyed this one, and I'm going to have to go back into it. Especially the story was so good. Excuse me. But I just, it wasn't what I had expected or hoped. But that's okay. That is okay. You know, it was definitely a progress on the series. Next up, man, fast forward to probably the late 2000s when I had an Xbox 360, and I picked up Grand Theft Auto 4. This game, I know it gets a lot of hate for some reason. It gets a lot of hate, and I remember picking it up for Xbox, and then I got the PC version that had the games for Windows Live, and that whole mess with the DRM was kind of a mess, and it still kind of is a little weird on it. But this one for me was kind of like, this is when they got into the modern era of GTA. You know, all the mechanics, the different side missions, get to go bowling with your cousin, of course. But I felt like it was such a breath of fresh air, going into Liberty City, and all the great things you could do. All this definitely brought me back from San Andreas. I really like San Andreas, but this, with the storytelling was great. It really hooked me with the storytelling, and the gameplay mechanics were just, it was brought up to a new game engine. Just everything looked better, and I think now, you know, again, if you play this now, I believe on the newer Xboxes, I believe that it's just a more improved experience with the frame rate. I think this was I think it was like 30 frames, which is not bad, but PC was a little bit better experience if you could get it to run. That was the thing at the time too. It was a little bit harder to run on PC, and people partially blame the DRM. But you know, all of them came. One thing I love, and I didn't mention this before, all of them came with the giant city maps. Even the original one. The original one had a two-sided map, which I believe I still have in the box, that lays out a lot of the different areas and the controls and all that good stuff. So that was always something to look forward to in the Grand Theft Auto releases. But yeah, 4 was so good. I played so much. And also the online play. I remember playing the online play, which I believe was really built in and introduced into 4. That was so much fun. Even though there was like the hackers and cheaters and whatnot, playing with your close-knit group of friends, so much fun. So much fun. And then Grand Theft Auto 5. Everybody was waiting for 5. 5 came out. And it's funny because I bought it for the, gosh, I'm trying to think back now. I bought it for the Xbox 360 when it came out, which included, required, it was funny at the time, it wasn't really a thing, required for you to install the game on the hard drive. And I don't remember too many Xbox 360 games that required an install. But that was one, and I remember when it came out, it was a great experience. I remember the place I was working at the time allowed us to, officially we got the word we were allowed to play the game like 4 or 5 hours early because we had a launch party. Oh, it was so fun. So much fun. I bought it for 360, ended up upgrading it to Xbox One when that came out, I believe a year later, which had better just better fidelity, better graphics, and you had a point of view, the first person point of view mode, which is cool. I also got it on PC as well. I don't know what came over me. I usually don't trade in games too much, but I think I figured, hey, I had it on PC and I was playing on PC a lot. I traded in my 360, my Xbox One version. Well, I traded 360 version to get the Xbox One version, and then once I got the PC version, I traded in the Xbox One version. So I don't technically have a physical copy of it anymore. I do have it on Game Pass, I believe, and I have it on PC. So, but that being said, GTA 5. I know there's a lot of people right now is like, where is GTA 6? GTA 5 has been around for quite a long time, since the first release, kind of like Skyrim, right? But the single player experience was absolutely top notch. They went and took the lessons from GTA 4 and just kicked the narrative into overdrive, and they did such a great job. Like, I need to go back and play it again because I was super impressed with the single player experience. And then the online experience came out, and everybody enjoys the online experience. It's really been a transformative experience, and I believe that's one of the reasons why a new GTA hasn't come out in so long. But that's okay. That's okay, in my opinion. I'm content with... I don't really play online with GTA anymore. But all in all, just such a fun experience. Seeing the evolution of GTA from the first one on PC in the late 90s all the way up through 5 has been a blast. And I know there were some other side games like the PSP games that came out, Liberty City Stories, Vice City Stories, all those came out, and they were really great as well. I haven't had a lot of experience playing them, but what I did play with them, they were fantastic. So many great adaptations and side stories. Chinatown Wars, I believe, for DS was also really good. I don't know if I have a copy of it, but really good. But yeah, let me know what your favorite experiences for Grand Theft Auto are. What your favorite version of Grand Theft Auto was. Some of your memories around Grand Theft Auto. It's been around for over 20 years. At this point, probably closer to the 25-year mark. And hopefully in a couple of years we'll be celebrating that. So maybe by then I'll be doing a more in-depth video with installs and recording and everything. So that being said, man, I love Grand Theft Auto. I can't wait to see what's next. And again, I appreciate all my subscribers. Thank you for subscribing to me. We just hit 100. Thank you so much. Have a great day and game on.